there's just play again. There's just us versus them. You have that there, but then you also have in Queen Rawanda's conversations with her daughter, right? Mm-hmm. So like when after the burial,
yeah,
right. There's also this scene where Queen Rawanda and Princess Shuri go out to the beach.
This is 1 year after the death of T'Challa, and they've been mourning for a year.
Yeah,
and now she takes her daughter out to the beach for this. Kind of ritual.
Yeah, and so she invites her out to this, and her mother recognizes this would be good for her daughter to kind of heal.
Yeah.
Right. Because why? Because working, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much work or productivity you're doing, when somebody dies, you don't just kind of let it go and forget about it, right? Mm-hmm. That's not how that works. You have to mourn a loss. Right. That's what we say, like, crying is okay. Mm-hmm. Being upset is okay. Mm-hmm. Questioning God, asking him, begging him, imploring his name upon somebody that you love is okay and even necessary. Right? And so here's this mother who loves her daughter, takes her out to the ocean side and says, hey, I think this is what we need. Right? And her daughter, I think rightly, was kind of angry.
Furious.
Because the kind of ritualistic approach, or the approach of the Wakandan people, was if we have these rituals, if we have these traditions, they'll help us mourn the loss of our loved ones, of our ancestors. But the daughter didn't see it that way.
No.
Right. She saw it as kind of a, what does she call it? Like a composite of the mind.
So her mom is trying to tell her that her mom had experienced comfort and consolation
in doing this,
from coming out to do this ritual, and she sat in silence. She just sat, allowed herself to grieve and to mourn. Mm-hmm. And she said she felt the spirit of T'Challa basically come and like lay a hand upon her shoulder, and that brought her great comfort and peace. Mm-hmm. And Shuri says to her mom, like, very harshly, so this is like, this is a mom this is a girl who just like gives no what's anymore. She's like,
I don't know what.
She's like, Mom, that's BS pretty much. That was a construct of your mind. Yeah. You're making this up to try to make yourself feel better about this reality of death that we don't have an answer for. Yeah. And that's really just final. T'Challa hasn't gone on anywhere. Yeah. He doesn't reside with the ancestors. Sure. He just doesn't exist. Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And we have to learn to bear that, kind of white knuckle this death.
Exactly.
And get through it. But her mother's like, no. You and I are going to burn this robe of T'Challa, King T'Challa's, together as a kind of a departing, detaching from this mourning that we have.
And she refuses.
And she does. And in fact, she says, I'm not going to burn this coat, right? If I sit here and think about my brother's death too long, I'm going to burn the world and everything in it. Yeah. Right? And so there's this kind of fester in the daughter's soul and Princess Shuri's soul that, like, death has built kind of resentment in her, but her mother, again, being the leveling, the balancing kind of act here, like, this is good for us. We need this. Yeah. Right. So, like, it's not just about the physical. It's not just about the science. It's not just about the intellectual. There's something kind of transcendent in this experience and necessary to mourn properly, to be happy properly.
But I have to say, I mean, how many people today are inculcated into this ideology, this worldview, that really all there is matter? Yeah. It's a materialistic worldview. And all these rituals that have been handed down to us from in America, we really don't have too many rituals anymore. That's why I want to keep turkey on Thanksgiving.
I feel you.
Because we have that's a tradition that we need.
Yeah.
But seriously, the whole concept of tradition is super important. Yeah. Right? Things that have been handed down to us from our elders, from our ancestors. And there are so many people today who are A, disconnected from any kind of tradition, but B, so imbued with this rationalistic mindset, this materialistic mindset, that they really do just have to confront this idea that there's death, there's nothing we can do about that, and then once it comes, that's it. That's final.
And this idea of, like, this construct of religion to help cope with death is very Marxist.
And Marxist and Feuerbach,
yes, right. It's actually, you're right. Actually, Karl Marx takes up Feuerbach.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, that's like a very kind of atheistic approach to the world. Again, in this particular context, she's grieving the loss of her brother. Right. Right. And so maybe it's an expression of that. But at the same time, a lot of people actually live by that philosophy constantly. And that, as we go, as I've said, and maybe you would agree, it's a very nihilistic approach to reality. Because why? Because if the material world is all there is, then in fact, these rituals don't matter. Prayer, spirituality doesn't matter. Then everything
None of
else
it matters. Exactly. Nothing matters.
And so, except matter. Matter matters. What's up?
Except it doesn't. It's just randomly
collection
there.
of things, right? But then what does her mom ask her, right? That's a great question.
So
like
this is
right.
Cool.
So her daughter says this to her mom. This is a construct of your mind to help you, cope with this death.
To help you feel better.
Yeah. She's like, is that so? Like, what construct does your mind make? Does it build torment or comfort?
Yeah.
Clearly it's torment in her daughter's mind.
Right.
Clearly it's torment. And the rest of the film, or at least some of the film, kind of she expresses that,
So this is the big question. So, her mother very wisely says, okay, even if it is a construct of my mind, you have a construct of your mind too, namely that the material world is all there is. Yeah. You can't prove that for sure. And what does that bring you? Does that bring you comfort like mine brings me? Now, obviously, that's not a proof that the mother's right. Right? Sure. That's not a rational deduction that proves that the mother is actually right just because she experiences comfort. And so there's a lot of atheists out there who might think, okay, just because religion brings you comfort doesn't mean it's true.
Sure.
And that's valid. Yeah. That's true. But we were talking about this reminds us of Blaise Pascal, his wager.
Sure.
Right? And one of the things he said is like, okay, and this is just kind of thinking philosophically. Okay, if you have two choices before you, to live as if God existed or to live as if he doesn't. If you live as if God existed and you kind of immerse yourself in ritual and liturgy and prayer and you try to follow the moral precepts that are handed down through religion, you have absolutely nothing to lose in doing that.
Yeah.
All you have to do is like gain something, namely comfort and like happiness that people who practice religion statistically seem to have more than people who don't. If you reject that and you don't and you decide to live as if God didn't exist, you have nothing to gain.
Nope.
And really, I mean, everything
nothing to
lose.
Yeah, nothing
really.
to lose. Yeah.
So basically, Pascal was thinking like, okay, just from a purely rational standpoint, why not just give it a try, right? Like, why not just live as if God existed? Why not just play the game? And see what happens if you do? And it's kind of an intriguing way of thinking,
Yeah, and so that's certainly what it seems to be in a certain example here. It's like that's a probing.
That's what the mom was
exactly.
saying,
That's
right?
like the probing question. It's like what I'm experiencing, what I've experienced through these rituals and through our ancestry tradition and through kind of religion, if you will, have brought not just me but kind of the universal Wakandan people to a great comfort in learning to deal with this. And I can't tell you with certainty that this is the correct answer, but I can tell you that it's not bringing torment like it's bringing you torment in your approach with this thing. But again, it's not a certainty necessarily. It's a probing of the heart. Where do you stand and where are you?
Yeah.
Talking here, being more, if you will, phenomenological. What is your experience of this thing? And the way that you're telling me right now, the way you're expressing to me that this is manifesting isn't good.
Yeah.
Right.
And don't you think there's maybe a little bit of hubris on the part of Shuri to say that what all of her ancestors have believed and passed down is just completely ludicrous and ridiculous, right?
And so that's kind of the pretentious part of here, the new generation versus the old generation. And we all do it to some extent. We've all done it to some extent. Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Oh, she's not up to date with cool. Or my dad's, he's just being lame again. Oh, whatever. Like it's easily dismissing those who've come before us in the name of irrelevancy.
Yeah.
Right. Yet we would say we learn from our elders because they're wiser than us. Always better, always more hygienic, always better looking, always more athletic. Not necessarily, but we would assume that our elders do possess a level of knowledge and wisdom that we as the younger generation do not. And at least in that sense, we respect our elders, at least on one level.
Yeah.